This episode of iFanboy is brought to you by Graphic Audio, Squarespace, and GoDaddy.
Okay, first of all, we want to apologize, just before we get started. There's going to be a lot of things we're going to say that are wrong.
A lot of mispronunciations.
We are going to talk about manga. We don't really know much about it. You probably know more. That's what this is about. It's about learning.
We're sorry.
And we're sorry.
It's not going to be pretty.
Hey, welcome to iFanboy, the comic book discussion show. My name is Connor. I'm here with
Josh.
And
I'm Ron. And a few months ago, earlier this summer, we posed a question to the iFanboy faithful. We said, hey, we want to do a show about manga. What should we be reading?
Wait! We're doing this wrong. We have to start from the back.
So if you want to talk more about manga books, you can go to ifanboy.com. There'll be a thread about this show. You can discuss those books there, or you can check out our weekly audio show. And you can go to revision3.com/ifanboy. There'll be a thread in the forums about this show, and we can discuss all kinds of things there.
And if you have any questions about manga or recommendations, you can call us at 1-888-FANBOYS. That's 1-888-326-2697. I don't know the international calling codes for that. So if you're in Japan, you'll have to figure that out.
And if you want to email us, you can certainly send it to contact@ifanboy.com. That was a great show. Anyway, the first book up is third book. I blew it.
Wow.
That's what's going to happen. Death Note was the most
A lot of people suggested Death Note.
suggested book
On the thread that people asked for discussion.
So I went into the comic store and I looked and I looked and I looked and I couldn't find it. And then I finally had to ask the guy. And he was like, it's over here on this giant rack of Death Note books. Because I realized
It was like the whole row of...
Oh, no, it was on its own spinner rack. I found like a special edition hardcover one that was like way expensive. I was like, I don't want to read this that bad. And then the other thing I have with manga books is that I always think that I was like, they have awful covers. They're just horrible
Well, because we should
covers.
probably explain what the deal is with the manga for people who
book.
might not know.
In Japan, much like in Hebrew, books reading goes from right to left as opposed to left to right, so you read them backwards. So the cover's actually on the other side.
Yep.
And you read the page backwards, too.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. As opposed to reading from the upper left and going across and across, you're going from the upper right and going across. Which for me, my first manga was Project X Cup Noodle, which we talked about a few years ago. Oh yeah, it took me. It took a hard time because you naturally were trained to go. So.
Again, we are manga noobs.
Yes, totally. We're being upfront about that.
I feel like we should throw that in every 5 minutes.
Yes, exactly.
That's fine.
Because we're old.
Manga is way more popular than American comics. Western
Worldwide.
Superhero comics.
Yeah. Huge in Japan.
Now, this belies the backwards thing, but manga is a Japanese comic book.
Yes.
It's a comic book from Japan,
Right.
as far as I understand
That's
it.
the definition of it. And a lot of the anime you saw in the 80s and 90s that became very popular, like Akira and things like that, those are all kind of built out of manga, which was, typically, a lot of speed lines, the round faces, the big eyes.
They've come up with their own language and how
Style.
to tell comics, just like we have. And it's funny because the word manga has been applied to a style to mean not necessarily comics from Japan, but comics done in the style of comics from Japan.
Right.
But in this, these are Japanese comics.
And so the most requested book was Death Note.
Death Note
Josh got
by Sugumi Oba and art by Takeshi Obata.
It was good.
I think it was pretty
So
good.
tell us about Death Note.
Death Note, it's odd. I mean, right away, just in case you were curious, you're like, oh no, it's just like something I can relate to. It's not. It's odd.
Well, no, and now going into manga and stuff like that, like I mentioned, Akira, stuff like that, a lot of violence, a lot of things like that. Seeing the cover of that looks like something that I would expect of manga.
Okay, but however,
Seems violent.
you're looking at the big demon on the cover.
Yes, I am.
Okay,
Yeah.
the demon is a Shinoburi.
Fear demon or death
He's
demon.
a death. He's a god of death.
Okay.
But he's not really scary. But here's what happens. The Death Note it's a book. It's like a little notebook, and there's these rules about it. There are death gods of that. This guy is one of them. I forget what they're called. Shiniguri, something. We told you that was going to happen.
All my Japanese I know from Wolverine, so if it's not Gaijin, Yakuza, or Shinjin,
What
then I
they
don't know
have is
anything.
a death note, and you can write a name in it, and the name of that person will die.
Ooh, I like
And
that.
so there are rules. You have to be thinking of the face of the person when you write the name so that you don't get it mixed up. And if you don't write anything within 60 seconds of writing the name, that person will die of a heart attack. You can specify if you'd like to. He dies from hitting by a bus, and it's at 4:20 in the afternoon. you can do that if you want to. And each of the death demons have this, and you find out that the reason that they do this is because for every life of a human that they take, that gets added onto their own life, so they can live indefinitely. They're demons. They live in a different dimension. They're not really into us. Yeah. Go ahead.
Sounds like a Japanese 100 bullets.
A little bit. Well, so what happens is this falls into the hands. There's all these rules. And as you go through it, like you keep finding more rules.
This is funny.
You find more rules about the thing, and the Death Note falls into the hands of Light. It's the kid's name, and he is a very good student. And he gets the thing, and as soon as he touches it, he can see the demon. So the demon hangs around him the whole time, not really helping him, not really not helping him, just sort of being like, humans are funny. And he just sort of hangs out with this big, weird grin the whole time, and he looks like a big, scary monster, but that's not what he's there for.
Yeah.
He's just sort of hanging out and bemused by humanity. So Light decides that he will start killing really bad people with the Death Note. So he starts finding people on death row, people who have committed heinous crimes, and killing them. And people start to notice that all of these people are dying, and so they commission somebody to help find the killer of all these bad guys, and that person's name is L, and he's a mysterious person who you don't see. This goes over many more volumes past this one. This is just the first volume, and it becomes a cat and mouse game where Light is trying to mislead the guy and leave him clues, and L is very, very smart and is figuring out, like, he narrows down in the entire world where the person is, who's doing this. He figures he's in a certain district of Japan, and he's probably a high schooler because everything takes place after 2 and before 1 p.m., and and as you go on, you learn more and more about what the Death Note's like, and it's weird because, I mean, it's sort of it's a different morality, really, than what you'd be used to, because he's the Light is a good guy, and he's the protagonist, but he's killing people.
Right. Yeah.
Well, I have a confession to make. I actually bought and read that because you claimed it first at the list, but it sounded so interesting that I bought it and read it.
Yeah.
And I thought it was very relatable in a lot of ways, because it's really all about is about corrupting power and the corrupting nature of power. Because he starts off and he says, "I'm just going to kill the 50 worst people in the world," and he kills them all. And then it becomes, well, they're trying to catch me. I'm going to kill the people trying to catch me. So he's going to target the cops. He doesn't start off.
What's nice is that
he starts off with good intentions, and then it gets out of his control. It spirals out of control. Suddenly, it's like they're following me. Who these guys? I gotta find his name so I can kill him.
They keep revealing more things about the character that makes it more interesting. His father he's the chief of the investigation of the Japanese police. Oops, we didn't mention that. Or the Japanese FBI.
Yeah. Interesting.
No, but I really liked it. I thought it was really interesting.
Cool.
It was
But it's
very
odd.
interesting. I didn't think it was odd. I thought it was very normal.
It doesn't feel American to me. It
It's
felt
not.
foreign. I know that, but it felt foreign in that way.
It is.
Well, one of the things about this is, I'm curious if you guys will find in yours, is that manga is very declarative in the way that old American comics used to be. Like, it's a lot of people saying things.
Yeah, saying very
I
obviously.
think maybe that's why I didn't find it odd, because I've read a lot of old comics. But I thought it was very normal. Like, I thought you could have put this in an American comic with American characters, and it would
It's a really, really,
fazed
really
me.
interesting plot. I mean, like the theme of it is I've never read anything like that. It's a good, unique story.
Yeah.
And I like the idea, like, this was $8.
Yep.
It's worth it.
Yeah.
You
It's
know,
pretty
and
thick.
you can buy the next one and just keep going with it. Yeah. I can see why these format of comics tend to sell really well, because it's like, the Vertigo books, you have to buy one after another.
Right.
These are like that, but they're cheaper.
Yeah.
And
I mean, it's important to note that they're black and white. They're not on the quality stock. I mean, like, it's not. I feel as if whereas American comics deviated to the high production value and rich digital color and stuff like that, they're keeping it simple, and it's black and white.
Who's making
and
more money?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And,
These are.
yeah. It's important to note this is published by Shonen Jump, which is a imprint of Viz Media, which I remember we were in San Diego, like 7-8 years ago, the big Shonen Jump bags. I'm like, what the hell is that? And so and now
successful people in American comics, really.
Yeah, exactly. So
I really like that. I'm probably gonna get the next couple. It was really
cool. I love how they're really pushing the read this way. Like, every now and then on a page you'll send this up, to remind you. Yeah, because people are stupid.
Liked it, though.
But cool.
It's a good recommendation.
So are you gonna keep reading the whole series?
I probably will at some point when I'm low on reading.
Oh yeah, that'll happen.
That'll happen.
Yeah. All right,
Ron, you went a little overboard.
Yeah. Well, before we get to my books, we'll take a quick break and hear from our sponsors. Graphic audio is a unique audio entertainment experience that features a full cast of actors, sound effects, and cinematic music that creates a movie in your mind. They've published over 300 action, adventure, and science fiction titles, including the recently released DC Comics Superman: The Never-Ending Battle. And they've got some great DC Comics releases coming soon, including The Flash Stop Motion, Wonder Woman Mythos, and The Green Lantern Heroes Quest. So head over to graphicaudio.net. Be sure to use the coupon code iFanboy when you purchase your CDs or MP3 CDs and receive 40% off your total purchase. So head over to graphicaudio.net where you can experience a movie in your mind. Okay, well, I had a little problem with getting into the manga because I went, we had a ton of feedback. I mean, it was like over 100 posts. And these guys picked the best ones off as far as I could tell. I was kind of last to the game. And so I was in the store, I was trying to find something, and my shop owner just kept on throwing books at me. For one moment, I almost read Gothic Sports, which appears to be about a goth soccer team in Japan.
That's right up your alley.
Which I think I am going to read. I didn't actually read it. I almost read Buddha by Osamu Tezuka, which became very highly recommended, which is kind of I believe it's someone in the same vein as Lone Wolf and Cub and Blade
He's
of
the
the
guy.
Mortal. Yeah, exactly.
They did Astro Boy.
Definitely gonna, exactly. I'm definitely gonna read this. Another one which I'll talk about in a second, but the one I settled on was The Pushman and Other Stories by Yoshiro Tatsumi. And this book actually collects the comics that Yoshiro Tatsumi did in 1969. I went for more of a historical bent.
And this is more normal. It's not read right to left.
Yes, this was published by Drawn and Quarterly, and it was printed left to right or left to right.
They reversed it?
They must have. Well, the thing is that this is a collection of 8-page stories that appeared in men's magazines or manga magazines in 1969. So it's not the traditional, Tokyo Pop or Shonen Jump, kind of digest book. Rather, it's a collection of short stories. I wanted to look at something about kind of more the origins of the style and that sort of thing.
Cheated.
No, it's still Japanese. It's manga. It's totally manga.
I think cheated.
This was collected by Adrian Tomine of Optic Nerve, the great independent comic that's been out recently, which we really should talk about.
It's so sad.
Great and depressing.
But these are I thought it was really, really interesting because it's done in the manga style. Or you see the beginnings of the manga style because this was done 40 years ago. With the big eyes and the speed lines, stuff like that. But it reads very much like independent comics manga style. The two kind of real things I took away from it mainly about Japanese culture is that I don't know a lot about Japanese culture, and
It's very different than ours.
it's very different, but it's also weird and almost similar because almost every one of these stories are all about isolation, weird sex issues, relationships, but just a little weird.
Right.
The other thing I also discovered is that they don't have a lot of furniture there. Everybody seems to sleep on the floor and they're kneeling at a little thing.
In the
and stuff
60s, there was just furniture shortage.
Right.
20 years after the bomb was dropped.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, really?
No, it was. But that said, I really enjoyed it.
What's it about?
It's a collection of short stories. It's all short
So
stories.
they're not related?
They're not related. The title story was The Pushman and Other
Did you have a
Stories.
favorite one?
The Pushman was really good. It's about a guy who pushes people onto the subway.
Oh, the Tokyo
those
Push.
train guys.
Yeah, exactly. So
Okay.
it's about him and how he
We don't have that. That's different.
Yeah, in the process of pushing the people in, an umbrella rips a girl's top off, and he kind of saves her, gives her his jacket. Then they go out on a date, and then they do it, and then he's late to his job, and he gets stuck on the train, and he's like, "No, I'm a pushman," and so it's all these little moments, a lot of sex.
In the 1969, that's pretty. And this is was it mainstream stuff? Do you know?
I don't.
Probably
Adrian,
not. Men's magazines is probably in men.
Well, yeah. I mean, Adrian Tomine wrote a foreword about it. Then there's an interview with Tatsumi that Adrian Tomine did, and to understand about the period. And he was at the time publishing manga, and he still is publishing manga. He was working at they have these manga rental stores where you can go and you can rent the book and bring it back, even back in the 60s. Yeah, like a library. But like a video store, but for manga. Right. So it was really interesting to see how it was very realistic, not very in a demon or something like that. Very realistic kind of, and you could see why Adrian Tolman likes it because you could see a direct correlation between this and the type of work that he does. Sure. Drawn Corley is collecting these. They're very nice, kind of hardcover things. A recent volume just came out this summer, and it's for the understanding the history aspect of it. These are like flying like hotcakes. So I mean, I thought maybe I cheated, but it was.
What's that go for?
This one lists for $19.95. So it's not that bad.
How much yen is that?
It actually only is Canadian. It's $25.95 Canadian.
6 billion.
6
So-
billion yen.
I haven't quite done the math. I think it's 6 billion.
But to me, the way I looked at this was like kind of like I don't compare it to Will Eisner, but like for what Japanese comics was, kind of like that beginning.
Sure.
kind
It
of
looks
feel.
like it.
Yeah.
That cover looks
yeah,
like
that's
a
a Will Eisner.
Totally,
cover.
totally. The other book that I did read though, which I had to because I felt as if I had to read something from right to left, and that was Crayon Shinchan. by Yoshito Yusi.
Isn't it weird hearing him say these words?
And what grabbed me about this one is that this cute little cherub of a kid and a big old sticker that says parental advisory explicit content. These are a collection of 3-page stories about Crayon Shinchan, who's a little kindergartner, and most of them are with his mother. In fact, this Mom and I Are Best Friends is the series of parts in this. And it's about how he drives his mother crazy, but he's a crass little guy. Yeah. And and there's a lot of weird kind of societal kind of things where like he finds a dog and he wants to keep it, and the mother's like, no, we're not keeping the dog. He's like, you crazy bitch, and walks away. and there's some points where his father's like, he goes out to get a burger with his father at a burger joint, and he's like, and the father's like, he's eating and he notices the kid's gone. And he's like, where is he? And he's standing right next to the girl who works there, pointing at her ass. He's like, Dad, is this what you wanted? And the guy's like, don't talk like an adult. Like he's like a kid that talks like an adult and gets those kind of ills, and a lot of crash jokes. I don't know what this originally runs in. This is published by CMX, the comic imprint that's out of Warner Brothers in DC.
Oh, okay.
I don't know whether this
really.
Yeah, I know. That's what I say. I don't know if this ran in a newspaper or anything like that, but I mean, but it's dirty. It's dirty and it's funny. But the thing is, I found myself laughing. Like I was reading it for a good half hour, and each one I would laugh. Like he takes a bath with his mother, and he asks why you wear a bra. She's like, oh, because women have large breasts. He goes, well, why do you wear one? It's just like so I don't know. I enjoyed it. It was funny. It's good to see the kind of humor aspect of it. So
you can no longer say that we can't be like, no, we've never read manga.
Right? No, I'm trying to run the gamut here, people. I'm doing everything. Exactly. I'm going to read Gothic Sports.
All right.
So next up is Connor, which we'll hear from after the break.
iFanboy would like to thank Squarespace.com for sponsoring this episode. If you ever wanted to build a complex high-end website but you don't know a thing about coding, Squarespace has the tools for you. You can build websites with high-end functionality and all sorts of complex stuff on them using their tools. Whether you have a large, powerful business or you just want to build a real nice blog, Squarespace has got what you need. They give everyone the opportunity to build pages that are just as powerful and flexible as those of the big dog. Keep an eye out for some pages that Squarespace is going to be building for us. GoDaddy.com, thanks for sponsoring this episode. Web hosting from GoDaddy.com includes 99.9% uptime, 24/7 support, and free access to Hosting Connection, the place to install over 30 free applications, sir, to help you get the most from your hosting plan and website. If you want to make an impact online, GoDaddy.com has what you need. .com names as low as $1.99, world-class hosting, fast and easy website builders, and much more. Looking to drive viewers to your video content? Then get a .tv domain name and stand out from the crowd. TV domains are perfect for podcasters, video bloggers, or anyone with something to say, and they're available now at GoDaddy.com.
Well, we had a lot of suggestions on the site, and what I ended up going with was Scott Pilgrim. Precious Little Life, Volume 1.
But you've read that already.
Okay.
And that's Canadian.
All right. I actually went with Spider-Man. Spider-Man Loves Mary Jane.
Wait a minute. That's by Marvel.
But it looks manga-esque. Look at the eyes.
Comics.
Yeah, that is the right size, though.
Yeah, it's small. Yeah. All right, fine. I actually went with...
He's got him in his pocket.
Battle Royale Volume 1, which was very much on the site.
That's
it was like the second most requested one on the thing.
I've heard of that before I read it.
The premise of this...
Well, who wrote it?
Well, it's Koshun Takami and Masayuki Takuchi. I'm sorry.
You're making that up.
Published by?
The Time Manga Revolution.
Tokyo Pop.
Sure.
Tokyo Pop.
Fine, Tokyo Pop.
Tokyo.
The premise of this is that...
Tokyo Pop did Gothic Sports, too.
I know, they look similar.
They're Gothic and they play soccer.
The premise of this is in the future, a Japanese future, totalitarian society. What the public is kept in line with TV shows. And the most popular TV show is called The Program. And what they do is they take one random 9th grade class and they put them on an island, and then the last kid left alive wins. And they're all given weapons and they have to kill each other. That's the premise. Great premise. Great premise.
That's a great idea.
Now, when I thought of manga, you think of a lot of stuff that I don't necessarily like a lot of sexual hang-up stuff, and a lot of sexual violence, and a lot of just weirdness. Yep. This had it all. This actually, after I finished reading this book, I felt nauseous for the rest of the night.
Wow, really?
This basically.
What'd you eat? Shouldn't have the Clowns Casino.
So what you're saying is that all of the little kids, the little 13-year-olds who are reading, like when you go to the cons and you see them and all that, they're reading stuff they shouldn't be reading.
Well, like all the stuff, the stereotypical manga stuff you think of, like all the schoolgirls with the panty shots and like
Sailor Moon.
Like one girl, she makes money by holding her skirt up for old men to see, and it's very, detailed, portrayed very detailed. There's a horrific gang rape that's very lovingly drawn over a 2-page spread. Like, and ultra violence, like just blood. And one girl gets her neck sawed off by another girl with a big knife. Just
So they're ninth graders?
ninth graders. And it's great premise, and I like the idea of it. But by the end of it, I was like, I feel like sick for having read this. And I know that's the cultural.
Did you read
thing.
this before or after Death Note?
I read this before, and I read that second.
That would make you like it more than I imagine.
Yes. It's just like this is the stereotype you've got where the Japanese sexual culture is well documented as being born from extreme repression. So there's a lot of questionable sexual taste,
Which is all over my book.
yeah, and
That's what she said.
And that was 40
full
years.
of that. And it's just like awfulness and. Look, I'm not against violence and stuff, but it's just like it was too much almost for me. It's like the physical violence, it's horrific, but it's just like, it's just over the top.
Really?
It's just like.
Now, do you think so part of the manga revolution or the manga happening is that a lot of, at least I can't speak to the Japanese thing because I've been doing it for years, but on the American side in the past 10 years, a lot of kids have
I actually found that.
Yeah.
a lot of kids have gravitated to it, and you see, I mean, like Barnes and Noble, the
Yeah.
wall of manga, and you saw the whole thing with that.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
it looks so cutesy.
So
That I
and-
have no problem with
So now,
kids reading
well,
that. This would be
there is a
tough.
parental advisory, and they're saying mature ages 18 and up.
Right.
But I mean,
That's not the audience for it.
right? Yeah, exactly. That's my point. Is that
Right.
kids are like this. I mean, they deal with a lot of. I mean, this is saying for older teen. They don't really mention an age. This is parental.
Which is
advisory.
funny
This
because the
is,
back here, it's got a pull quote from Entertainment Weekly saying, Royale hits all the manga bases, martial arts, creepy old men, panty shots without being Sailor Moon silly. Yeah, you're right. It wasn't silly, but it was fucking disgusting. I mean, it was like, it was.
Wow.
So
I mean, I think you take out the big detailed rape scene, and I might have been less a problem with it. But it was just like.
This show continually.
it's just so funny.
iFanboy's clearly against rape. At least
Yeah,
we've got that
exactly,
going for us.
Exactly.
But there was also really like just like when this girl gets her head chopped off, it's just
Jesus,
like
wow.
it was
Well,
gross.
it works for some people.
Like just.
It works for a lot of people.
Yeah.
That,
If you really
that
like-
book sells. That book's more famous than Wolverine.
Yeah. I mean, you like really violent, bloody stuff, fine. It's
People
probably
do though.
really
I mean,
no, it's probably
that's-
great for
yeah,
you, but
yeah,
I don't.
Exactly. So.
And it's really it was
there-
really,
I mean-
it was really the rape scene that really got me.
Was it germane to the story? I mean, what was?
Not really. Like what happened was that the kids got taken. There's always a random. They don't never know who's going to get taken.
Sure.
And a couple of the kids, the two main characters you think are the main character, one gets killed in the middle, come from an orphanage. And what they do is the government tells each family your kid is on the program, and the kid's orphanage keep young caretaker is a young woman, and they rape the soldiers, and the guy rape her.
Jeez.
Just because she protested. So it was just awful. And I mean, it's a great setup, and I was kind of annoyed because I was really looking forward to it because I thought, well, this is a great idea. It'll be interesting to see how this breaks down. They get you get the basketball star and the guy into kung fu, and one kid is like the son of the yakuza. And it's just like, and then it's just too much.
It's like you've learned something.
Yeah.
So-
I literally felt sick the rest of the night. I had to read like I read a bunch of other like really benign stuff. Like,
Jeez.
You just read JSA. There we go.
There we go, that's what I
nice.
was-
Captain Marvel.
So
no, Death Note was great though. I love Death Note. I'll buy the next one.
So a couple months ago, we asked you on iFanboy.com to recommend some manga books, and we take a look at them and read them, and we got hundreds of responses. And I'm Ron.
I'm Connor. I'm Josh. Whoa. I was expecting you.
I started this show.
I know, but I'm the one who says it last, so I would be. Wait, no, I should have said it first.
This backwards thing is very confusing.
It hurts my brain.
Welcome to iFanboy, the comic book discussion show from the website iFanboy.com. Hello.
We got a lot to learn.
My head hurts.
And then just a normal show. And how do we end?
Say, hi, I'm Ron.
We
I'm
introduced the
Josh.
show again.
I'm
Yeah,
Connor.
yeah.
iFanboy is a show about comic books.
But we say we're doing no. Then when after Connor, I go. We a couple months ago we asked you your opinion, and
And then you say, I'm Ron, I'm Josh, I'm Connor.
and then it ends.